This video is about meeting minutes in Vista. From the main menu from your folders, we can go into PM Meeting Minutes and click on PM Meeting Minutes. When it opens, we'll type in our job, and in the meeting type, it's a lookup, so we can F4, and we can see all the different meeting types that are available for us to pick from. If you feel that there is a consistent meeting that your project has that doesn't fit into these categories, please reach out to IT and it could potentially be added. So we can do an OAC meeting. It'll automatically pick the first one available. If you're typed in here, you can just hit the plus key. It'll give you the next meeting that's available for your OAC. And then for minutes type, we're going to change it to meeting. And for this moving forward, we will always type in meeting. And I'll explain more later, but for all intents and purposes, this will always be one, and you unfortunately have to type it. So we can type in the header information, discuss where the meeting is happening. And then we would fill in the items down here of what we would want to discuss. So I filled out the items in the bottom, and at this point I can run the meeting minutes report. The meeting minutes report has lots of parameters to it, mainly because it can include all your logs in your owner meetings so that you don't have to run them individually and then collate them offline. You can include your PCO log, IRN log, RFI log, submittal log, and drawing log. Now in this case, I've just basically set up, this would be in the event that my meeting is coming up and I wanted to distribute to my attendees like what we wanted to discuss. The main thing I want to do at this point, and we kind of discussed agenda versus minutes, is we would select that we want to run it as an agenda. So if I preview this, it's going to come up and basically have each item with a large section for you to be able to write in notes of what occurred at the meeting. If you knew who your attendees were going to be, you could come in here as well and fill in the attendees tab. Remember, you could either double click on this to have it pop up, or you could check this box to have it always pop up when you go to the attendees tab. So in this event, if I check it, get it and get off, it'll auto-populate. And then all I have to do is double click whoever was there, whoever I thought would be there for it to populate, and then I can mark the present box if they're there or not. So at this point, you've had the meeting, so you know who is there, you know who wasn't there, you can do that. And then in each of these items, you're going to come to the Lines tab, and you're going to fill in what was actually discussed at this meeting. In this line, you can assign, if there's a specific task that needs to be performed based on the meeting itself, you can assign that to a specific person. If it's linked to multiple people, you can use this multiple parties to just freeform type who it's involved with. In this example, on this one line for schedule, we have 3 different lines. 2 of them are related to a specific subcontractor. 1 of them is related to everybody. But you can go through and you can put in what occurred there. Then at this point, you could rerun the meeting again. You would run it as minutes, and this time it'll run the report with all the minutes summarized. It'll have your attendee list, who is there, and this would be the summary of your meeting for that week. So at this point, you've had your meeting, distributed the minutes, and you're ready to prepare your agenda for meeting number 2. At this point, you would go to the meeting that had just occurred or that had occurred the prior week. So we're trying to do meeting number 2. So we would want to go to meeting number 1. And we come up to File and we go to Meeting Items Copy, not Meeting Copy, Meeting Items Copy. Meetings Copy would be used like if you have a nice starting template that you use and you used it on one job and you want to use it on a different job, you could pull it over here. But we're going to use Meeting Items Copy. So the destination meeting would be number 2. We can put in the meeting date that it's going to be there, and we can elect to copy the following items. So we could choose to copy the attendees. We could choose to copy the items. That would include all the lines associated with each item. Then we can have these options of including closed headers and including closed line items. So for simplicity's sake, we're just going to leave these checked from now, and we can discuss the implications of them after we copy. So we can make this copy. And then if I go to my grid, number 2 will be there. And so at this point, we can kind of repeat the process where we take this meeting minutes report, we run it as an agenda, we distribute to the team that's going to be at the meeting. We would have the meeting, we would come back. In this case, we would go and create, another line item. And it would just continue, the process would just repeat itself for as long as necessary until this type of meeting is over with. The idea of not copying open and close things. So each line could have a status. So at some point, like this item of railings installed at windows and stairs, we could say it's closed. We no longer leave it in the minutes. And so when we do this copy, and we say in this case, these lines are the line items and the items are the headers. So if you could choose to take a header item off it by changing the status of the header as well. The other option is when you run the meeting minute report, there is an option right here to exclude closed items. So you could choose to always leave on the stuff in Vista, all the things that are closed, so that you can refer back to them if you wanted. But then when you printed the report, it would only include the items that you wanted it to see. One thing that I didn't discuss was the report order. So sometimes when you create the items, once an item is created, you can't change this. It's a key field, so it can't be changed. But this is potentially not in the order that you want to discuss the meeting in. So you could totally change the order that the report prints in by utilizing this report order field. So if I was to rerun this report again and preview it, it's going to print in that report order grouping in lieu of the item order, as you can see here. A couple other tips for printing options, like let's say you wanted to, you knew something was discussed in a meeting, but you can't figure out when. You could run this report with the meeting blank for all of them, and when you preview it, it's going to run every single meeting. It's going to run every single OAC meeting that occurred on the entire job that you logged. So everything that you logged across every single job will be run, and then you could utilize this binocular field to search for a specific word or whatever it is that you were looking for, and you could find it. So you can basically search across all your meetings to look for something. If you swore something had happened, but you don't remember when it was, that would be an easy way to help you find it. So at this point, the main takeaways on meeting minutes is you would always create a single meeting. You would set up the items. You would distribute it as an agenda. Once the meeting has occurred, you would update each of the items with lines of what was discussed at the meeting and assign responsibilities if necessary. You would then distribute those as minutes. You would then come up to the meeting items copy and perform a copy to create meeting 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, etc. At that point, if you uncheck those bottom 2 items that I was discussing, it would take things that are in closed status off. So just for an example, I'm going to close billing because they paid us. And I'm going to come to schedule, and I'm going to say these 2 items are done. So I'm going to go to meetings and items copy, and I'm going to create number 3. And I'm going to uncheck to include closed headers and closed line items. So what should happen is items 1 and 2 from schedule are going to go away, and the billing item is going to go away as well. So as you can see, billing is gone, and if I go to schedule in the lines, those 2 items that I closed are gone. So you can choose to get rid of closed items as you pass on, or you could leave closed items on, and then when you run the meeting minutes report, check to exclude closed items. Or you could choose to include closed items. So you've got several options of ways to run the report and keep data moving forward between meeting to meeting. The final item to show you is the meeting minutes log, which is simply just a listing of all the meetings that you've had on the course of your project. So it's this button right here. If we run it, you could search for a specific, if you just needed to send a list of meetings that you had with the owner, you could specify a meeting type, and in this case, it would be running across every meeting type, showing you all the meetings that had occurred. And that concludes all the items associated with performing meeting minutes in Vista.